In our economics class at this moment, we want to look at price determination 2. It's going to be the continual part of the last price determination that we have discussed. If you can remember vividly, we concluded our class with what we call effect of demand on equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. But for this one, we are going to look at effect of supply on equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. Likewise, what we call price control. Effects of supply on equilibrium price and quantity. We have treated change in supply in this class, where we said when you're talking about change in supply, there will be a shift in supply curve from one side to another side. That is, we have original supply curve, later we have another one. And in supply curve, we either have it to be what? Increase in supply or decrease in supply. We have analyzed the factors behind shift in supply or change in supply. But we want to look at the effect of it on equilibrium price and quantity. The first one is going to be increase in supply. Looking at the diagram before us, we have the price axis, we have the quantity axis. We can also see the interaction of demand and supply curve. We have two supply curves. One reads SS, another one reads S1, S1. Now, you observe that we have equilibrium point here, that is point E, where demand and supply meet. And we have equilibrium price to be PE1 and equilibrium quantity to be QE. Let me repeat. We have interaction of demand and supply at this point E, where equilibrium price is PE and equilibrium quantity is QE. Now, holding demand curve constant, we have a shift in supply curve from SS to S1, S1. This shift is what we call increase in supply. That is, supply curve shifts to the right. And when supply curve shifts to the right, it implies that there will be an increase in supply because demand is constant here. So supply will be greater than demand. And whenever supply is greater than demand, something will happen to price and quantity. So here, we are going to establish new equilibrium position that we call E2. At E2, we have equilibrium price to be PE1, while equilibrium quantity to be QE1. Why do you have this? Demand curve is constant, but there is a shift in supply curve to the right. So new equilibrium position will be established with new equilibrium price and quantity. Now, look at the diagram very well again. A fall in equilibrium price and a rise in equilibrium quantity. That is, whenever we have increase in supply, it will have effects on equilibrium price and quantity. And the effect will be what? A decrease in equilibrium price from PE to PE1 and an increase in equilibrium quantity from QE to QE1. The second effect of supply on equilibrium price and quantity is what we call decrease in supply. And when I'm talking about decrease in supply, there is a backward shift in supply curve. Right? Now, how is it affecting equilibrium price and quantity? Now, this is demand curve, this is supply curve. So meaning that we have initial equilibrium position at point E. But because of backward shift in supply that we call decrease in supply, holding demand curve constant, new equilibrium position will be established at this point. I call it E2. Right? Now, coming to the price axis and quantity axis, we'll observe something there. That from the quantity axis, there is a decrease in quantity. That is, a decrease in equilibrium quantity from QE to QE2. But looking at price axis, we have an increase in price from PE to P2. The indication is that because of decrease in supply, holding demand constant, equilibrium price will increase, whereby equilibrium quantity will decrease. So that is, whenever there is a decrease in supply, we are going to have an increase in equilibrium price and a decrease in equilibrium quantity. Having demonstrated with it, well, with the graph, we can see demand curve constant, see supply curve moving backward. The arrow is telling us that demand supply curve has shifted backwardly. Price legislation. This is a price control determining how the government or its agency fixes the prices of essential commodity. That is, in an economy, government can intervene or appointed agency or agencies to be in charge of legislating when it comes into price of goods and services, particularly essential commodity in an economy. So price legislation is also known as a price control. If we can remember, when we look at price mechanism or price system, we say where we allow invisible hand to determine the prices of goods and services. So in that situation, like they don't expect government to intervene in such an economy. But due to one reason or the other, government can intervene in an economy in order to see that prices are not allowed to derail the economy. So that is why we have price legislation or price control, in order to ensure that goods and services are priced accordingly so that the economy can move forward. Types of price legislation, that is, type of price control. The first one, we call it maximum price legislation, that we can also call maximum price control. The second one, we call it minimum price legislation, that we can also call minimum price control. Maximum price legislation. This is the highest price at which goods and services are to be sold and bought. No one is allowed to sell above maximum price, or selling below it is permissible. So what we are trying to understand here is that the price control is used in order to avoid producers exploiting consumers in an economy. That is, they are trying to protect consumers against the exploitative attitude of sellers and producers. Not only that, they also use this control in order to check inflation in the economy. But when we are trying to demonstrate it using equilibrium, they usually will fix the maximum price below equilibrium price. So in a nutshell, maximum price control is put in place in order to protect consumer against exploitative attitude of sellers and producers. And not only that, in order to check inflation in an economy. The second one, minimum price legislation, that we can also call minimum price control. This is the lowest price by law at which such specified commodity can be sold or bought. So what we are saying here is that government can decide to put a price on a commodity or commodities that are essential in order to protect the farmers. Not only that, maybe determining the wages and salaries to be paid to employees. So that's why I said it is used to allow minimum wages to be paid and to protect farmers against fall in their income, because some people would like to buy products from farmers at lowest price. But if there is no minimum price that government can put in place for them, so farmers will be exploited and farmers will continue to be having low income. Likewise, employees, they are trying to protect employees against their employers, because if such policy is not in place, employees might be exploited, paying them peanuts. But where we have minimum price control, it's trying to let the employers to understand the lower they can pay to workers. So that is why most of the time it is usually above the equilibrium price. That having determined the equilibrium price of that particular service or particular product, right, they will now place the minimum price above it, so that the employees can have good income or good salary, and the farmers too can have increase in their income. Objectives of price control that we call price legislation. These are some of the objectives that they want to achieve toward the law, price legislation. Number one, to protect the exploitation of consumers by producers. We said it, that government will try to put in place minimum price, maximum price. And the essence is to work protect consumer, particularly in the area of our commodities, essential commodities. Now, when you look at maximum price control, we said government to try to work to place it below the equilibrium price. That is, to avoid exploitation. Number two, to avoid inflation. They also want to see that the economy is stable. That is, general prices are not going up and down anyhow. So to try to put control into prices of goods and services in an economy. Number three, to help low-income earner. That is the essence of a minimum price control. That is farmers that are having fall in their income. So they try to put in place minimum price control. That's why we have the equilibrium price. We have the price to be above the equilibrium price so that the farmer can have stable income. The next one, to prevent fluctuation of prices. That is, in order to see that the economy is stable, and once the economy is stable, it will ensure prices of commodity being stable without having an unnecessary increase in prices of goods and services in an economy. So government try to put control into prices in order to prevent fluctuation of prices. Then the last one, to control the profits of firms, especially monopolists. A situation where we have a firm that is only the one producing a commodity in an economy. So if care is not taken, the firm will continue exploiting people and the profit of the firm will continue increasing. But government tries to put control into prices so that it will affect the profit of the firm. So by doing that, the firm will not just be exploiting or changing prices anyhow they like. So by having price control, they are trying to control the role of monopolists in an economy. Examples. Question 1. Price control refers to A, the way of making more goods available in the market. B, a policy of ensuring stable prices in the market. C, a general reduction in the price level. D, effective working of the force of demand and supply. The right answer is B, a policy of ensuring stable prices in the market. Price control is talking about law. So the first one is not talking about law. Letter A is not talking about law. Letter C is not talking about law. Likewise, letter D. So the right answer is A, is talking about the policy, law, of ensuring stable prices in the market. Question 2. If the government fixed the price of a good above the equilibrium price, quantities supplied will be A, less than quantity demanded, B, equal to the quantity demanded, C, greater than quantity demanded, D, equal to 0. The right answer is C, greater than quantity demanded. We have analyzed interaction of demand and supply, that whenever a price is above equilibrium price, supply will be greater than demand. So it is only letter C talking about that. Letter A, that is less than, it will not be right. So if supply is less than demand, then we are talking about a fall in equilibrium price. Letter B is talking about equilibrium price, that is supply equal demand. Letter D is not appropriate, so it's not equal to 0, so we can't have that. So the right answer is letter C. Question 3. Government fixing prices below the equilibrium point is aimed at protecting the A. Sellers, B. Industries, C. Distributors, D. Consumers. The right answer is D. Protecting the consumers. We said it that the government put in place policies, and the policies are there to protect maybe employees or consumer. But with respect to this, because the price is fixed below the equilibrium point, consumers are protected against exploitative attitude of sellers or producer. So A cannot be right because we are not protecting producers here. Industry, so industry producers, well, we are not talking about industry in this situation as well. Distributors, we are not talking about them. So we are talking about consumer here being protected using maximum price legislature.